Jackson Milner threw his shoulder against the twisted driver's door and roared through the blizzard. "Stay with me. Don't you dare close your eyes on me." The black SUV was folded around a pine tree. Snow pouring through the shattered windshield, and the woman inside was bleeding out fast. But when he finally ripped the door free, what he saw on the floorboard stopped his heart cold, a folded wheelchair pinned beneath the passenger seat. She couldn't walk, and the nearest hospital was 40 miles away through a whiteout. What happens next in that freezing ranger cabin will break your heart and put it back together. Before we begin, drop the city you're watching from in the comments so I can see how far this story has traveled. And if you love stories about second chances, hit that subscribe button right now. Jackson Milner yanked the steering wheel of his old Ford hard to the right and slammed the brakes so fast the truck fishtailed into a snowbank. No, 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 come on, come on. He was out the door before the engine even stopped rattling. Boots punching through knee-deep powder breath ripping out of his chest in white clouds. Eyes locked on the tangled black shape wrapped around a pine tree 50 yards down the slope. Smoke curled up from the hood. Glass glittered across the snow like somebody had scattered diamonds in the dark. "Hey, can you hear me? Hey!" Nothing answered him but the wind. Jackson half ran, half skidded down the incline, one gloved hand out for balance, the other already fumbling for the pocketknife clipped to his belt. He'd been a firefighter for 9 years before he moved to the mountains. He knew what a wreck smelled like. Burning oil, hot metal, and something worse underneath the copper-sweet smell of blood, freezing fast. "Ma'am, sir. Anybody talk to me?" A faint sound, thin as a thread. Half a breath, half a word. "Help. I hear you. I hear you, I'm coming." He reached the SUV, and his stomach dropped. The front end was accordioned back almost to the dashboard. The driver's side window was blown out entirely, and through the wreckage of the airbag, Jackson could see her dark hair plastered to her forehead with blood eyes half open, a long streak of red running down the side of her neck and into the collar of an expensive wool coat that was never meant for a night like this. She was maybe 40, maybe 45. Beautiful in that sharp, quiet way some women are when they've stopped trying to impress anybody. And she was dying. "Ma'am, my name is Jackson. Can you hear me? I'm a fireman, okay? Retired, but I know what I'm doing. I need you to stay awake." Her eyes fluttered. Hey, stay with me." He banged a fist against the roof of the car. "Look at me. Look right here. What's your name?" Her lips moved. He leaned in close. Celine. Celine. Okay, beautiful name. Celine, I'm gonna get you out of here, but I need you to help me. Can you move your legs?" Her eyes opened a little wider at that. Something flickered across her face that wasn't pain. Something that looked a lot like shame. "I can't." "Okay. That's okay. Does it hurt to move 'em?" "No." A dry, bitter little sound that might have been a laugh. "I can't move them. At all. Ever." Jackson paused for half a second. Just half. Then he nodded like a man who'd heard 1,000 things in his life, and none of them were going to slow him down now. "All right. Doesn't change a thing. We're still getting you out of here." He braced his boot against the side panel and hauled on the driver's door. It didn't give. He hauled again. The metal screamed. On the third pull, with his whole 200 pounds behind it, the hinge popped and the door came free in his hands. That was when he saw the wheelchair. It was folded up, strapped to the floor behind the driver's seat, and a twisted piece of door frame was pinning it in place. A titanium frame, lightweight, expensive. The kind somebody used every single day of their life. Jackson swallowed hard. For a second, just a second, he wasn't standing in a blizzard on a Colorado ridge. He was standing in a hospital hallway 8 years ago, listening to a doctor tell him that his wife Maria had coded on the table, and there was nothing anybody could have done. Not again. Not tonight. "Celine." His voice came out rougher than he meant. "Celine, I need you to listen to me real careful." "I'm listening." "Your legs don't work, and that's fine. We'll handle that. But I need to know if anything else is broken. Your arms. Your ribs. Can you breathe deep for me?" She tried. Winced. Ribs. Left side. Okay. Arms. She lifted her right hand maybe 2 inches and let it drop back into her lap. Right arm works. Left, I don't know. I can't feel it. All right, that's plenty. You're doing great. You're doing real great. Now I'm gonna pop this seatbelt and get you out, and I'm not gonna lie to you. It is going to hurt like the devil. You ready? No. Jackson almost smiled. Honest woman. I like that. Here we go anyway. He sliced the seatbelt with his knife, worked his arm under her knees and the other behind her back. She was smaller than he'd expected, light bird-like under all that wool, and when he lifted her out of the seat, she made a sound like somebody had stepped on her heart. He froze. I got you. I got you. Almost there. Just hang on. Wait. Can't wait, ma'am. This truck's smoking and I don't like it. My phone, my bag? They're not worth your life. You don't understand. I do understand. I've been on 50 of these calls. Nothing in that car is worth one more minute. Now hold on to me. He got her clear of the vehicle and started back up the slope, and he'd gone maybe 10 steps when the SUV gave a soft, wet whoomph, and the hood caught fire. Nothing dramatic. Just a low orange flower opening up in the snow. But it was enough to make the point. Celine turned her face into his shoulder. She didn't cry. She just breathed fast and shallow, and Jackson could feel her heart hammering against his chest like it was trying to bang its way out. See? He said gently. Told you. You did tell me. Save your strength. You're gonna need it. The wind was picking up. His truck was 100 feet up the slope, and the snow was already swallowing his own footprints. Jackson did a quick inventory in his head, gas tank almost full, but the road back to town was a 2-hour drive on a clear day, and tonight there was no clear anything. Cell service up here was a joke on a good day. In a storm, it was just a joke. The only thing within real walking distance was the ranger cabin, a 1.5 miles northeast, tucked into the lee of the ridge. He'd sheltered there with his daughter Hannah 2 winters ago when a hike went sideways. 1 room, a wood stove, a bunk, a stack of dry split pine taller than a man. He looked down at the woman in his arms. Her lips were going blue. Celine, listen to me. You still with me? I gotta make a decision, and I'm gonna tell you what it is. Town is too far. My truck can get me about halfway before it buries itself in a drift on that pass. But there's a ranger cabin up the ridge. I've been in it. It's got a stove and it's got wood. I can get you there in 40 minutes if I push. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. It's gonna be cold, it's gonna be hard, and I am not letting you go until we are inside that cabin with a fire going. You hear me? Her eyes met his. For the first time since he'd pulled her out, they were really truly focused. Sharp. The eyes of a woman who'd stared down boardrooms full of men who wanted her job and sent them all home with their tails between their legs. I hear you. Good. He got her up to the truck, popped the passenger door, and set her inside, just long enough to pull every emergency blanket he had out of the back seat, 2 Mylar, 1 wool, and the down jacket he kept stuffed behind his own seat. He wrapped her. He wrapped her again. He tucked the wool around her legs, which hung limp and useless, and he saw her eyes flick down at them and then quickly away. Don't, he said. Don't what? Don't do that thing you're doing. What thing? Being embarrassed. Not with me. Not tonight. Celine Hartwell and he still didn't know her last name yet, but he would closed her eyes for a long second. When she opened them, there was a thin sheen across them that she blinked away before it could become anything. Who are you? She said. Told you. Jackson. Jackson what? Milner. And you just drive around these mountains waiting for women to crash into trees? Nope. He grabbed a length of rope out of the toolbox. I was hiking, left the truck at the trailhead because I wanted to watch the storm come in over the pass. My daughter's at her grandmother's tonight. I was going to walk back down, have a beer, watch the Weather Channel yell at me. Then I heard your tires lock up. You heard them. You laid a lot of rubber before you hit that tree. It echoed. I was going too fast. Yeah, you were. I thought I could beat the storm. Nobody beats the storm, ma'am. Celine. Nobody beats the storm, Celine. He finished cinching the rope into a kind of sling he could use to keep her tight against his chest while he walked. His hands were shaking not from cold, but from the old adrenaline he knew too well. He'd learned a long time ago not to fight it. Let it come. Let it go to work for you. One more thing, he said. This is going to be undignified. Nothing has been dignified for the last 10 minutes. Fair point. He lifted her out of the truck, settled her against his chest, the way he'd carried Hannah home from 1,000 bedtimes, and started walking. The snow was coming sideways now, wind off the ridge hitting him like a hand across the face every 10 steps. Jackson bent his head, fixed his eyes on the tree line that marked the trail to the cabin, and walked. "Talk to me," he said after a while. "About what? Anything. Tell me about your day. Tell me why a woman in a $5,000 coat is driving herself through a blizzard on a road nobody uses." "It's not..." She coughed, winced. "It's not a $5,000 coat." "Looks like one." "It's 12. "Good Lord!" "It's the only thing I bought myself this year." He laughed. Couldn't help it. The sound came out small and cracked in all that wind. "Okay, $12,000 coat. What else?" "I was driving to my grandfather's cabin. It's another 20 miles up. He died last month. I was going to spend the weekend going through his things." "By yourself?" "By myself." "Nobody to help you?" A long pause. The wind filled it. "No." Jackson adjusted his grip and kept walking. "Celine, what do you do for a living?" "Why?" "Because you're keeping your eyes open when I talk to you, and I need you to keep your eyes open, so I'm going to keep talking to you. What do you do?" "I run a company." "What kind?" "Medical devices. Prosthetics mostly. Mobility aids." "Huh. What?" "Nothing." "No, say it." "Just figures." "What figures?" "That a woman who makes wheelchairs would be too proud to let a stranger carry her out of a wreck." Her head moved against his shoulder. He thought she might be laughing, or crying, or both. "I'm not too proud." "Yeah, you are. I've been in this country a long time. I know proud when I meet it." "Okay, maybe a little. Lot." "Fine, a lot." "That's better." She was quiet for a long stretch. The only sound was his boots breaking through the crust of the snow and the wind singing in the pines. When she spoke again, her voice was lower, and it didn't sound like a CEO anymore. It sounded like a woman in the dark. "Jackson." "Yeah." "If I pass out..." "You're not passing out." "If I do, don't stop." "I wasn't gonna. I mean it. Don't sit with me. Don't wait for me to wake up. Keep walking. Get to the cabin. Light the fire. Then come back for me." "Celine." "Promise." "I'm not making that promise." "Why not?" "Because I don't leave people in the snow. Ever. Not once in my life. Not gonna start tonight." Her hand, the right one, the one that still worked, came up and found a fistful of his jacket, and she held on. Not tight, just enough for him to feel it. They walked. The wind got worse around a bend where the trail climbed. Jackson stopped counting his steps because the number didn't help. He counted breaths instead. In for 4. Out for 4. Celine had gone quiet again, but he could feel her breathing against his chest, and as long as that kept happening, he kept moving. "Tell me about your daughter," she said suddenly. "What?" "Earlier. You said she was at her grandmother's. Tell me about her." "Why?" "Because you keep talking to me to keep me awake. I'm returning the favor." Jackson huffed a breath. "Her name's Hannah. She's 11. She's smarter than me, and she knows it. She reads those big thick books about horses. She wants to be a large animal vet. Last month she told me she's pretty sure she doesn't need a father anymore, only to wake me up at 3 in the morning crying because she had a nightmare." "What about her mother?" He almost missed a step. Her mother passed 8 years ago. I'm sorry. Yeah. How? Nobody ever asked how. People danced around it. The fact that Celine dying freezing, wrapped in his arms in the worst storm he'd seen in a decade, had the guts to just ask the question flat out, somehow made it easier to answer. Aneurysm. She was 32. We were eating dinner. She laughed at something I said, put her fork down, told me her head hurt. Then she just went. Oh. Yeah. Jackson. That's why you came down that hill so fast. He didn't answer. Couldn't really. The wind was very loud. You couldn't save her, Celine said softly. So you were going to save me. Celine, I need you to shut up now and save your breath. Okay? I mean it nice. I know. The cabin came into view maybe 10 minutes later, a low, dark shape against the snow, the roof sagging with a foot of white, the little chimney black and cold. Jackson felt something uncoil in his chest. There it is. You see it? I see it. 40 more steps. Jackson? Don't you dare tell me you can't make it. I'm the one walking. I wasn't going to say that. What then? Her voice was very small, barely there against the wind. Thank you. He kept walking. Don't thank me yet. Why not? Because we still gotta get inside. And my hands are numb, and the door sticks, and the last time I was here, a raccoon had taken over the bunk. A sound came out of her that might have been a laugh, a real one. A raccoon. Big one. Named him Gerald. Why Gerald? He looked like a Gerald. She laughed again. It cost her. He felt her whole body flinch with the pain of it, and her fingers tightened on his jacket. Easy, he said. Easy. Save it. You can laugh at me all you want once we're warm. 30 steps. 20. He reached the door, shifted her carefully to one arm. God! The way she winced when he did, and grabbed the iron handle. Frozen solid. He kicked the bottom of the door twice, heard ice crack, and shouldered it open. The inside of the cabin was colder than the outside somehow. Pitch dark. Smelled like dust and old pine, but it was still. No wind. That alone was a blessing. He carried her to the bunk in the corner, the one with the folded wool blanket stacked at the foot, and he laid her down as gently as he knew how. Her eyes were closed. Celine. Celine, hey? Stay with me. I'm here. Don't close those eyes. You hear me? I'm getting the fire going right now. You talk to me the whole time. Tell me about your company. Tell me about your grandpa. Tell me anything. Just keep that mouth moving. Bossy. Yeah, well, so are you, I bet. A breath of a laugh. He tore off his gloves, with his teeth dropped to his knees at the stove, and started pulling kindling from the wood box with hands that had forgotten how to work. He could hear her breathing behind him. Shallow. Too shallow. Her coat was soaked through where the snow had melted against her. Her hair was a frozen dark tangle. Celine, keep talking. My grandpa. Yeah, what about him? He built this cabin. Jackson's hands stopped. He turned his head slowly. The woman on the bunk had her eyes half open, looking at the rough-hewn beam above her, and her mouth was curved in something that was almost a smile. What did you just say? He built this one, too. My grandfather, Henry Hartwell. He built all the ranger cabins on this ridge, in 1962. Jackson sat back on his heels. The wind howled against the walls of a building that 8 years ago had kept him and a little girl alive through the worst night of their lives. A building put up by the grandfather of the woman now bleeding out in its bunk. He swallowed, struck the match. The kindling caught. Celine. I think you and I need to have a long talk when you're warm. Okay. Just as soon as I figure out how to keep you alive. Her good hand dropped off the edge of the bunk and hung there in the firelight, and Jackson Milner reached across the little cold room and took it and held on. The fire caught, then hesitated, then caught again, and Jackson didn't let go of her hand until the flame was steady enough to trust. "All right," he said. "All right, we got heat. You hear me, Celine? We got heat." "I hear you. Don't move." "I literally cannot." "Right. Sorry. Force of habit. I tell my daughter that 9 times a day." He pushed himself up off the floor, and his knees cracked like somebody'd stepped on a handful of dry twigs. 46 years old, and his body reminded him of it every chance it got. He crossed to the bunk in 3 strides, crouched beside her, and put the back of his hand to her forehead. Too cold. Way too cold. "Celine, I'm gonna do something, and I want you to know it's coming before I do it." "What?" "I gotta get this coat off you. It's soaked through. Every minute you're wearing it, it's pulling heat out of you faster than the stove can put it in." Her eyes flickered. "Jackson, I know. I don't. I know. I don't want you to see." "Celine." He crouched down so his face was level with hers so she couldn't look anywhere else. "I am a father. I was a firefighter for 9 years. I have seen every version of a human body there is to see. I'm not looking at you like a man looks at a woman. I'm looking at you like somebody who is trying real hard not to let you die. Are we clear?" A long pause. "Yes." "Good. Work with me." He got the buttons of the wool coat undone one at a time, his fingers clumsy from cold, and peeled the heavy fabric off her shoulders as gently as he could. She hissed when he got to the left side and he stopped dead. Ribs. Ribs. Broken or cracked? "I don't know. Broken, I think. I've had it before." "You've had broken ribs before." "Twice." "Celine." "Don't ask." "I wasn't going to." "Yes, you were." "Fine, I was. But I won't." He got the coat off her. Underneath, she was wearing a cashmere sweater that had once been cream-colored and was now streaked with blood down the left side and across the collar. He winced. Not at the blood. At how thin it was. $12,000 coat over a sweater you could see your hand through. City clothes. Meeting clothes. Clothes for a woman who got in and out of warm cars into warm buildings and never spent 3 minutes exposed to real weather in her life. "Okay," he said more to himself than to her. "Okay, we're gonna layer you up. I got a flannel in my pack and there's an old Pendleton in the cedar chest under the bunk that I know for a fact is clean because I left it here 2 winters ago." "You just leave clothes in strangers' cabins?" "Ranger cabins. Public use. Anybody gets stuck up here, there's supposed to be something dry waiting for 'em. That's the deal." "Is that a law?" "It's a mountain law. Those aren't real." "Ma'am, you're alive because of 'em." He crossed to the cedar chest, threw the lid open, and started digging. Pendleton. There. Thick wool, red and black checked, smelled of cedar shavings and nothing else. Under it, a pair of thermal long johns, still in the plastic, a knit hat, a pair of men's wool socks, size 11. God bless whoever'd restocked this box. Celine. I'm gonna put this shirt on you and then these long johns." Jackson. "Ma'am, I haven't let a man dress me since I was 4 years old." "Well, tonight you're gonna let this one. And I'm gonna do it with my eyes half closed and my mouth running so you don't have to think about it too hard. Deal." A pause. "Deal." "Good. So did I tell you about the time Hannah convinced her 3rd-grade teacher that I used to be a rodeo clown? You did not. Swear to God. Woman stopped me at the pickup line, asked me very seriously if I still had my wig. I said, 'Ma'am, I've never been on a horse in my life.' Hannah was dying in the back seat, arms over the sweater. There we go. You doing okay?" "Keep talking." Turns out my daughter had written a 3-page essay about her father, the rodeo clown, for a creative writing assignment. The teacher thought it was a memoir. Arm through. Other arm. Good. She got an A on it. The essay. Hannah, I mean. Kid's a born liar. Gonna be a politician or a novelist, I haven't decided which is worse. He was working as fast as he could without hurting her. She was thinner than he'd realized, a runner's body maybe, or somebody who'd spent a lot of years in a wheelchair, working her upper body twice as hard as other people worked theirs. There was an old surgical scar along her collarbone, faded to a silver line. Another one under her jaw. "You've been through it," he said quietly. "Been through what?" "Couple of surgeries." She didn't answer, just turned her face toward the wall. "Hey." He softened his voice. I was 19. "Okay." It was a car, the other kind of car accident. Drunk kid coming the other way on a 2-lane highway in Ohio. Killed my best friend. Killed my boyfriend. Left me. She gestured vaguely down at her body. This. Celine. I spent 11 months learning how to live in this body. And I did. I got good at it. I built a whole company around people like me. I walked across a stage at Stanford 4 years later on my graduation day. I mean, you know what I mean. I went across it. I know what you mean. And I've been fine. I've been absolutely fine for 23 years. I believe you. Don't. Don't what? Don't say you believe me. I can hear it when people say it. It means they don't. Jackson sat back on his heels. He had the long johns in his hand. He set them down on the bunk. All right. I don't believe you. Thank you. I think you've been surviving for 23 years. That's a different thing. Her jaw moved. She didn't answer. Celine, lift your hips if you can. Just a little. I'm gonna slide these on you, and then I'll leave you alone. I can't lift my hips. Oh, right, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna just hold still and I'm going to... Yeah, there, other leg, there. You are officially wearing long underwear that's 2 sizes too big for you, and I don't want to hear a word about it. I was going to say thank you. You're welcome. You talk a lot. My late wife used to say the same thing. Said I talk when I'm nervous. Are you nervous? Ma'am, I am terrified. I'm just good at hiding it. That got her. A little breath of a laugh real this time. He got the wool socks on her. Got the Pendleton buttoned over the sweater. Pulled the blankets up over her and tucked them tight around her shoulders. Then he went back to the stove and fed it 2 more logs and watched the flame eat them until the chimney was roaring. Jackson. Yeah. How bad is it? How bad is what? Me. He turned away from the fire. Looked at her. The firelight was finding the sharp bones of her face now, the good strong angle of her jaw, the dark smudges under her eyes. There was a cut above her right eyebrow that had stopped bleeding. A bruise coming up on her cheekbone. Her lips had gone from blue back to something closer to a human color. Honestly, I don't know yet. You're out of the worst of the cold. The ribs are the ribs, there's nothing to do for those but wait. The cut on your head isn't deep. It just bled a lot because head cuts always bleed a lot. Your pulse is strong. I felt it when I was getting the coat off. What worries me is, I don't know what's going on inside. Internal bleeding. Could be. Okay. Celine. Yes. I need to ask you some questions and I need you not to get mad at me. Okay. Are you taking any medications I should know about? Blood thinner. Well, hell. And something for nerve pain. How long since your last dose? Morning. My bag had the evening doses in it. My bag is back in the car. The car's on fire. I noticed. Okay. Nothing we can do about that right now. What about the nerve pain thing? Is it like opioid or... Not an opioid, it's gabapentin. Huh. Okay, not as bad. You'll be rough tonight without it, but you won't be dangerous without it. You know gabapentin. My wife took it for a while. After... He stopped. After what? After she lost the baby before Hannah. Nerve damage from the delivery. She was on it about 6 months. Jackson. It's fine. It was a long time ago. It wasn't fine. Nothing about what you just said was fine. He didn't answer, just poked at the fire with an iron. Outside, the wind threw itself against the walls of Henry Hartwell's cabin and bounced off. Inside, the little stove popped and crackled, and the heat started to take the edge off the room. Jackson felt it in his shoulders first, then his ears, then his fingers. The good, dangerous feeling when a body started coming back to itself after being too cold for too long. He brought the iron kettle in from the porch, packed it with snow, and set it on the stove. "What are you doing?" "Making you something hot to drink." "What?" "Melting snow. Then I'm gonna put—" He dug in his pack, one of these tea bags in it. Earl Grey, because my daughter went through a British phase, and I never threw the rest of the box away. "You carry tea." "I carry everything. My truck's basically a garage sale." "I'd like some tea." "Yeah, you would." "First smart thing you've said all night." "I said a lot of smart things." "You crashed into a tree." "I said smart things before that." He laughed. Really laughed for the first time since he'd heard her tires lock up on that ridge. She was coming back. The voice was coming back. Whoever Celine Hartwell was when she wasn't dying in a snowbank, she was starting to show up again. While the snow melted into water, he pulled a chair up next to the bunk and sat down. Not too close. Close enough that she could see him without turning her head. "Talk to me," he said. "About what?" "About you. About the part you don't put in the interviews." "What interviews?" "Celine Hartwell, CEO of a medical device company. You got interviews. I bet you've been on the cover of something." A pause. "Forbes, twice." "See? So tell me the thing you don't say on the cover of Forbes." "Why?" "Because we got a long night ahead of us, and I've seen you bleed already. Feels like we're past small talk." She was quiet for so long he thought maybe she wouldn't answer. Then, "I haven't slept with another person in the same bed in 9 years. Jackson didn't move. Didn't change his face. Just nodded slowly. "Okay." I mean sleep. Actually sleep. Another human being next to me. 9 years. "Why?" "Because I'm busy." "Try again." "Because I run a company with 300 employees and I don't have time." "Try again." Her voice cracked just a little. "Because I don't want anybody to see me before I'm ready to be seen. My hair, my morning, the way I have to get into the chair. I have a routine. It takes me 45 minutes, and nobody gets to watch that. Nobody." "Celine, I know how it sounds." "It doesn't sound like anything. It sounds like you." "It sounds lonely." "That's a word?" "Don't agree with me when I call myself lonely. That's cruel." "I'm not agreeing. I'm just sitting here." The kettle started to steam. He got up, dropped the tea bag and waited, poured some into a tin mug, brought it back to the bunk, held it to her lips because her good hand was still shaking too much to hold it steady. She drank. "Slow," he said. "Slow. It's hot." "That's the point." She drank again, closed her eyes, opened them. "Jackson." "Yeah." "Who holds your mug for you?" "Nobody." "Exactly. That's different." "Is it?" He set the mug down on the floor, looked at his hands. Calloused, scarred across the knuckles from an old kitchen accident, a gold band still on the fourth finger of the left one, even though Maria had been gone for 8 years. He hadn't even realized he was turning it with his thumb until Celine's eyes went to it. "How long?" she said quietly. 8 years in March. "And the ring?" "I know. I'm not judging." "I know you're not. I'm judging. I take it off sometimes, then I put it back on. It's stupid." "It's not stupid." "Hannah asked me last year why I still wore it. I didn't have an answer." "Did you ever try dating again?" "Once, about 4 years in. Woman named Beth, schoolteacher, real nice, funny, patient. I took her out 3 times. On the 3rd date, we were sitting in a diner, and she said something I don't even remember what, and I laughed and then I started crying, and I couldn't stop. Right there at the table. Over a cheeseburger. And Beth, God love her. Beth just reached across and held my hand until I was done. And then she said very kindly, "Jackson, I don't think you're ready." And I wasn't. And I went home, and I cried some more, and I never called her back because I was embarrassed. And that was 4 years ago. And I've been alone ever since. Celine didn't speak for a long time. Then, 9 years and 4 years. Sounds about right? We're a pair. Ha. I mean it. Two functional, allegedly successful adults, and between us, we've got 13 years of nobody to call at 3 in the morning. You count it up like that, it sounds bad. It is bad. Yeah. Jackson. Yeah. What was her name? Your wife. Maria. Maria Milner. Maria Elena Santos Milner, from Corpus Christi originally. Registered nurse. Hair down to here. He touched the middle of his own back. Laughed with her whole body. You know those people whole body laugh. She'd throw her head back and slap the table, and everybody in the room would start laughing too, whether they knew what was funny or not. She sounds like the opposite of me. She was the opposite of most people. That's why I married her. Jackson. Do you still talk to her? He looked up. What do you mean? I mean out loud. When nobody's around. Do you still talk to her? He held her eyes. Yeah. What do you tell her? Depends on the day. Usually about Hannah, about how tall she's getting, about the dumb jokes she likes. I tell Maria about the deer in the yard, because Maria loved the deer in the yard. Sometimes I just say I miss her. Sometimes I ask her what the hell I'm supposed to do, and then I feel stupid because she's dead and she can't answer. But sometimes... He stopped. Sometimes what? Sometimes I get the answer anyway. Celine didn't laugh, didn't tease, just nodded once very small. I talked to my grandpa, she said. Yeah. He's who I was coming up here to see. I mean his stuff, his cabin. He died last month, 91. Good long run. Everybody kept saying that at the funeral. Good long run, like it was a horse race. People don't know what to say at funerals. He was the only one who ever treated me like I wasn't broken. Jackson went still. Everybody else, she said. From the minute I came out of that hospital, they had two faces. The pity face and the impressed face. Sometimes one, sometimes the other, switching back and forth depending on what I was doing. Grandpa Henry had one face. He just looked at me like I was Celine. Same as he did when I was 6 and riding on his shoulders. He taught me to fish from the chair. He rigged up this pulley system off the dock. He built me a ramp up to the back porch of this cabin. Her voice caught, this cabin Jackson. I'm lying in a bunk he probably slept in 1,000 times, and I can't stop thinking that I came up here to say goodbye to him. And instead, he's up here saying hello to me one more time. Jackson closed his eyes, opened them. Celine. Yes. I don't know if I believe in much anymore. Lost most of it the day Maria died. But I know one thing. Your grandpa put me here tonight, same as he put you here. Don't. I'm not being sappy. I'm telling you what I think. I was hiking a ridge I hadn't hiked in 6 months. You were driving a road you'd never driven. We both ended up at a cabin he built 64 years ago. You tell me what that is if it's not him. She didn't answer, just reached out slow and shaking and found his hand with hers. He let her take it. Outside, the wind screamed against the chimney and blew snow under the crack of the door. Inside, the fire burned steady, and the two of them sat without speaking for a long time, and Jackson felt something in his chest he hadn't felt in 8 years. Something quiet and sore like a muscle coming back to life. Jackson, she said finally. Her voice was thinning. The warmth was catching up with her, and the exhaustion was winning. I'm here. I don't feel right. He looked at her sharply. What do you mean, not right? I feel cold. Cold again. From the inside. Hey. Celine, look at me. Her eyes were drifting. Celine. Eyes on me. I'm trying. Listen to me very carefully. I need you to stay awake. The warmth from the stove is not enough. Your body isn't catching. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. I'm going to add more blankets, but I need you to talk to me. Keep talking. Tell me something I don't know. Like what? Anything. Tell me the first thing Grandpa Henry ever taught you to do in this cabin. A long, slow breath. He taught me, she whispered, how to light a match, one-handed. Show me. Can't. Tomorrow. You'll show me tomorrow. Okay. Celine, stay with me. I'm trying, Jackson. I'm trying, but I can't. I can't get warm. And her good hand tightened on his hard, and Jackson Milner felt his heart drop straight through the floor of that cabin because he knew what that was. He knew what happened to a body that had lost too much heat and couldn't find its way back. He'd seen it on a mountain rescue in 2009. He'd seen it in a nursing home fire in 12. He knew exactly what came next if he didn't act, and he knew exactly what he had to do, and he knew exactly how she was going to feel about it. He stood up. Celine, I need you to listen to me. Okay. I'm going to do something, and I want you to know before I do it that I am doing it because it is the only thing left that will work. Do you understand me? Her eyes opened. Just a little. Just enough. What? He took a breath. I'm getting under those blankets with you. For a long second, she didn't react at all. Jackson wasn't sure she'd heard him. Then her eyes came open the rest of the way, and the woman who'd run a company of 300 employees was back in them sharp and clear and scared. No. Celine. No, Jackson. You are hypothermic. I watched your lips go blue twice in the last hour. The stove is not gonna catch you up fast enough. You need skin against skin, or the closest thing to it, and you need it in the next 10 minutes. There has to be another way. Name it. Another blanket. Heat some rocks. I don't know. I've heated rocks on rescues. They help. They don't fix it. The only thing that fixes it is a warm human body, which is what every wilderness medicine book in America will tell you. I am not Celine. I am not going to lie in a bed with a man I have known for 2 hours. You are going to lie in a bed with a fireman who pulled you out of a burning car and is trying to keep you alive. That is who I am in this room. That is the only thing I am. You don't understand? Then tell me. I can't. Her voice broke. I can't move. Do you understand that if something happens, I can't get up? I can't walk away. I can't turn over. I can't put my hand on a door and leave. That is my whole life, Jackson. That is the thing I have built my whole life around, not letting anybody put me in a position where I can't leave. He sat back down on the chair beside the bunk. Slow, the way you approach a horse that's about to bolt. Okay. Don't say okay like that. Like what? Like you're handling me. I'm not handling you. I'm listening. She turned her face to the wall again. He could see her throat working. When she spoke, her voice was very small. When I was in rehab, after the accident, there was a nurse, a man. It wasn't he didn't do anything, but he stood too close. He laughed at things that weren't funny. He brushed my hair out of my face one time, and it took too long. And I couldn't move, Jackson. I couldn't even roll away. I just had to lie there and hope he got bored and left. And he did. He got bored and left. Nothing happened. Nothing ever happened. And I never told anybody because nothing happened. But I was 19 years old, and I learned a thing that night. I learned that the worst part of not being able to walk is not the stairs or the curbs or the bathrooms. The worst part is that when you decide a person isn't safe, you still have to stay in the room with them. Jackson didn't say anything for a long moment. Then he got up, crossed the cabin, opened his pack, and came back with his pocket knife. He laid it on the small wood table next to the bunk, handle toward her, close enough that her good hand could reach it. What are you doing? She said. You keep that. You hold it if you need to. You open it if you need to. I don't care. You say stop. I stop. You say get out. I get out of this bed and I stand by the door until you tell me I can come back. You are in charge of this, Celine, not me. You. She stared at the knife. I'm not going to stab you. I know. I know. That's why it's there. She looked at him. Really looked. Fire on one side of his face, shadow on the other, and eyes that had no impatience in them at all. A man who had all night and no agenda. Jackson. Yeah. Can I? Her voice caught, and she had to start again. Can I slip under your blanket? He closed his eyes for half a second. He hadn't realized until she said it how badly he'd needed her to be the one to say it. Yeah, Celine, you can. Just the warmth. Just the warmth. That's all. Promise me. I promise you. He took his boots off first, slow and deliberate so she could watch every movement. Set them neatly by the stove, took off his outer flannel and laid it across the foot of the bunk, left his thermal shirt and his jeans on. He wasn't taking any more off than he had to, and she could see that, and she could see that he'd thought about it. I'm coming up on your right, he said, the side that works. So your good hand is free and the knife is on the table right there. Okay. Okay. Tell me if I hurt your ribs. Okay. He lifted the blanket slid in beside her and eased himself down flat on his back, keeping a careful inch of space between them. He pulled the blankets up to her chin. She was shaking, not shivering, full body shaking, the kind that was past the shivering stage and into the dangerous stage where the muscles were giving up. Celine. Yeah. I'm gonna put my arm under your head. Is that all right? Yes. And my other arm across you, above the ribs, not below, just your shoulder. Is that all right? Yes. He did it. Careful as clearing glass out of a kid's foot. She was cold against him, unnaturally cold, the cold of a body that had been out past its limits. He pressed the length of himself as close to her right side as he dared, keeping his weight off her ribs, and he felt her whole frame jerk once hard as the warmth hit her. Jackson. Shh. That's okay. That's your body catching up. You're gonna shake harder for a minute, then it'll ease. It hurts. I know. Why does it hurt? 'Cause your blood vessels are opening back up. It's a good sign. Means you're not too far gone. She shook. He held still. Didn't tighten his arm, didn't loosen it. Just stayed exactly where he was and let his body do the one thing a body can do for another body when the cold has gone too deep. After a minute, the shaking slowed. After 2, it eased to a tremor. After 5, she made a small sound against his shoulder. What? I said you smell like pine. Been out in it all day. It's nice. Go to sleep if you want. I don't want to. Why not? Because if I go to sleep, I might not wake up. You're gonna wake up. Jackson. You are going to wake up. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here. If your breathing changes, I'll know. I'll wake you up. How do you know? Because I used to lie awake listening to a baby breathe. You learn. She was quiet. Your daughter. Yeah. Tell me another thing about her. Like what? Anything, just your voice. Keep it going. All right, well. She's got this thing she does. When she's thinking real hard about something, she chews on the end of her braid. Her mother used to do the exact same thing. Exact same. Hannah never met her mother. Not really. She was 3 when Maria died. She doesn't remember, and nobody ever taught her that little tick. She just does it. I saw her do it at the breakfast table about a year ago, sitting there chewing on the end of her hair over a bowl of cereal, and I had to get up and go out on the porch because I was gonna lose it right there in front of her. Jackson. Yeah. That's beautiful. It's haunted is what it is. Can't it be both? He let out a slow breath. I guess it can. My mother used to hum, Celine said. All the time, in the kitchen, in the car. Any quiet moment there'd be humming. No tune, just humming. After the accident, I was in the hospital about 6 weeks before they'd let anybody but family in, and she sat in that chair next to my bed, and she hummed for 6 weeks. I would wake up in the night, and there'd be that hum in the dark. I learned to sleep to it. Is she still around? She died 4 years ago, pancreatic. I'm sorry. And my father went 6 months after her. He couldn't. He just couldn't. Everybody said it was his heart. It was his heart, but not the way the doctors meant. Yeah. And my brother? I have a brother. Had a brother. He lives in Singapore. We haven't spoken since the funerals. Not for any big reason. We just ran out of things to say when our parents stopped being between us. Celine. What? That is the loneliest sentence I think I've ever heard in my life. I know. She turned her head just a fraction, and he felt her forehead come to rest against the side of his jaw. She stopped shaking. Just stopped. Her breath evened out against his neck, warm now real breath from a body that had found the bottom of the cold and started coming back. Jackson. The knife. What about it? You can move it if you want. I don't need it anymore. Nah, leave it. Feels right where it is. Okay. A long pause. The stove popped. The wind threw a fistful of snow against the window and the window held. Jackson. Yeah. Can I ask you something? Sure. How did you keep going? Keep going with what? After Maria. He didn't answer for a long moment. When he did, his voice was rougher than it had been. Hannah. Just Hannah. Just Hannah. I'd be lying if I said anything else. I was 3 weeks out from the funeral, and I was sitting on the bathroom floor at 2 in the morning, and I had a plan. I'm not going to lie to you. I had a plan. I knew how. I knew when. I'd worked it out. Jackson. And the only reason I didn't do it was because Hannah cried in the next room. She was 3 years old, and she was having a dream, and she cried the way a 3-year-old cries for their mom, except she didn't have a mom anymore, so she was just crying for whoever was closest. And I got up off that bathroom floor, and I went in there, and I picked her up, and I held her, and I said, "Daddy's here, baby, Daddy's here." And I knew right then that I was going to have to be both. I was going to have to be Daddy and whoever was closest, and I couldn't ever stop because there was nobody else behind me. Jesus, Jackson. Yeah, so that's how. Does she know? Know what? That you were on the bathroom floor that night. No, and she's not gonna. She will someday. Maybe. Someday she's grown, maybe. Not before. She should know. Someday. That she saved your life. I don't want her to have that weight. That's not weight, Jackson. That's a gift. To know you kept somebody here. He didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat had closed down on him, and he hadn't seen it coming. He turned his face up toward the ceiling of the cabin Henry Hartwell had built in 1962. And he blinked once hard, and a single tear went sideways down his temple and into his hair. Celine felt it. She couldn't see it pressed against him like she was, but she felt the little movement in his chest, the held breath. Her good hand found his on top of the blanket, and she laced her fingers through his. Didn't squeeze, just held. "We're all right," she said softly. "Yeah. We're all right. Yeah. Jackson. I want to tell you something I've never told anybody. You don't have to. I want to. Okay." She took a breath. He felt it expand against his side. "I've had 3 men propose to me in my life. 3. Don't sound so surprised." "Sorry, I believe it. Go on." "The first one was the boyfriend who died in the crash. We were going to get married that summer. I was 20 years old. He had the ring in his jacket pocket when the car came across the line. They found it on him." "Oh, Celine." "The second one was a man named David. I was 31. He was fine. He was a good man. A lawyer. He loved me. I think he really did love me. And I said no." "Why?" "Because I could tell Jackson. I could tell. When he looked at me, he was looking at this version of me who he was going to rescue. He had a whole script in his head about how noble he was being. 'I love her anyway.' That's the phrase he used once. 'I love you anyway.' And I knew that the day I needed him to just love me anyway, he wouldn't know how. And the third. The third was 2 years ago. A man I'd worked with for 10 years. He proposed at a hotel bar in Zurich after a product launch. He had the ring. He had the speech. And I knew what he wanted, not me, the company. 40% of it, technically. And I looked at him across that little round table and I said, 'You're the 4th person I've loved in my life, and the 3rd who wanted me for something other than who I am, and I'm too tired to do this one more time.'" And I wheeled out of there. And I flew home, and I haven't been on a date since. Jackson was quiet for a long time. Celine. What? Any man who looks at you and sees something to rescue, is looking at the wrong woman. Because the woman I'm lying next to right now is the one who told me to keep walking if she passed out. The one who made a joke about a raccoon named Gerald with broken ribs. The one who just said a thing about her brother that I'm going to think about for the rest of my life. You are not a rescue Celine Hartwell. You are a whole person who had a bad night on a bad road. She was quiet. Did I embarrass you? No. Because I wasn't fishing. I know you weren't. I just wanted you to hear it said. Somebody should have said it to you a long time ago. He felt her start to cry before he heard it. Silent tears, the kind you don't let yourself have when anybody's looking. Her shoulder shook against him, small little pulses, and he didn't say a word. Didn't shush her, didn't pat her, didn't try to fix it. Just held still and let it happen and kept his breathing steady against her ear. After a long while, she was quiet again. Jackson. Yeah. I haven't cried in 6 years. Then you were about due. She laughed a wet little laugh. I don't even know what I was crying about. Everything I'd guess. Yeah. Everything. It's a big list. The stove was glowing steady now, and the little cabin had come up to a temperature where a man could feel his toes again. Jackson could feel Celine's body warming against his side, slow but real. The dangerous cold was gone. She was not going to die tonight, but something else was happening. Something he hadn't counted on. He was not going to fall asleep and have her be a stranger in the morning. He knew that now, sure as he knew his own name. Whatever this night was, storm, accident, coincidence, Henry Hartwell reaching down from wherever he'd gone, it was not going to end at a sunrise. Jackson. Are you still awake? Yeah. Can I ask one more thing and then I'll stop? Anything. How do you do it? How do you love somebody again after what happened? He took his time with that one. Celine. I don't know. I haven't done it. I told you about Beth. That's the last time I tried. I'm 46 years old, and my heart has been closed for business for almost a decade. Oh, but I'll tell you what I think. I think you don't decide to. I think it just starts happening, and you wake up one day and realize it's already started, and the only choice you ever really had was whether to pretend it wasn't happening or whether to say, yeah, all right, I'm gonna let this be. That's a coward's answer. Probably. Are you a coward, Jackson Milner? He thought about that. Yeah, about this I have been. Yeah. Me too. I know. They didn't say anything after that for a long time. The fire burned down, and he got up once carefully to feed it, and when he slid back under the blankets, she was already asleep. Real sleep, the deep kind, the kind her body had been begging her to take for hours. He checked her pulse with 2 fingers on the inside of her wrist. Strong, regular. He checked her breathing. Even. He touched the back of his hand to her forehead. Warm. Normal warm. Human warm. She was alive. He lay back down beside her and stared up at the ceiling beams hand-hewn, probably with Henry Hartwell's own hands, and he listened to the wind outside, and the fire inside, and the breathing of the woman whose life he had carried 1.5 miles through a blizzard. Henry, he said very quietly, so quietly he wasn't sure he was saying it at all. If you're somewhere up there? I'm doing my best here, sir. I'm doing my best. Celine stirred in her sleep. Her hand still laced through his on top of the blanket tightened just a little. Then went slack again. Jackson closed his eyes. He did not sleep. He had told her he would keep watch, and he meant it. But for the first time in 8 years, lying in the dark next to another person, he felt the specific and peculiar weight in his chest, the one he'd been carrying since the night Maria went shift. It didn't lift. It didn't leave. It just shifted, like something settling into a new position after a long time in the same one. And he lay there in Henry Hartwell's cabin, listening to Henry's granddaughter breathe, and he waited for morning. Morning came slow, Jackson felt it before he saw it, a thinning of the dark against the little window, a gray that had been blue only minutes before. The wind had quieted sometime in the night. The fire had burned down to a bed of red coals, and Celine Hartwell was still breathing steady and slow with her forehead tucked against his shoulder and her hand still laced through his on top of the blanket. He didn't move. He wasn't ready to. "Jackson." Her voice was a whisper scratched up from sleep. "You're awake." "Been awake about 10 minutes. Why didn't you say something?" "I was trying to figure out what part of me hurts worst." "And it's a tie." He huffed a laugh, carefully. He didn't want to jar her. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a tree." "That is actually medically accurate." "Don't make me laugh. My ribs." "Sorry." She was quiet for a moment. Then, Jackson. I slept." "Yeah, you did." "I slept next to another person." "You sure did." "And I didn't panic. I didn't wake up. I just slept. That's how it's supposed to work." "I forgot." He didn't answer. Couldn't really. He just turned his head enough to look down at her without disturbing her ribs, and he saw her eyes open dark and clear in the gray light. No fear in them. No performance in them either. Just Celine looking back. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning. I'm gonna get up now. Build the fire back up. Check the weather. You stay put. I wasn't planning on running anywhere." "Ha. Too soon." "Little bit." He slid out from under the blankets, slow tucked them back up around her, and padded over to the stove in his socks. The coals took the kindling right away. He fed it up to a full blaze, set the kettle on for more water, and went to the window. "How's it look?" she called softly from the bunk. "Clear. Sun's not up yet, but it's coming. Wind's died." "Storm's done?" "Looks like." "Jackson." "Yeah. How long will it take before somebody finds us?" He came back and pulled the chair up next to the bunk and sat. "Depends. I filed a trail plan at the ranger station. I do that every time I hike. They'll have noticed I didn't check back in yesterday evening. Hannah's grandmother, Maria's mom. She'll have called the station by now. Been a long night for her." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. She's tough. She's used to me." "What about my side of it?" "What do you mean?" "Nobody knows I'm up here." Jackson stopped. "Nobody." "I didn't tell my office. I told them I was taking a personal day. I didn't tell my assistant where I was going. I didn't even tell the hotel I stayed at last night. I mean, night before last. I paid cash." "Why?" "Because I didn't want anyone to know." "Celine." "Don't. I know how it sounds." "It sounds like a woman who didn't want to be found." She was quiet for a long moment. Not the way you mean." "What do I mean?" "You mean I was coming up here to hurt myself?" "Were you?" "No." He watched her. "I swear to you, Jackson. No, not that, but—" She stopped, started again. "I was coming up here to disappear for a weekend. I wanted 2 days where nobody could find me, where there were no calls and no emails and no assistants and no one looking at me. I wanted 2 days of being completely alone in a place my grandfather built, and I wanted no witnesses. That's it. That's all. But the truth is, I get it. I hear it. I disappeared for a weekend, and if you hadn't been walking that ridge, nobody in my life would have noticed I was missing until Tuesday. Tuesday. I don't have a Monday meeting until 4 p.m. So Tuesday. Celine. I know. That's no way to live. I know. Hell, that's no way to disappear for the weekend. Don't make me laugh. Wasn't trying to. Was telling you the truth. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was wetness at the corners, but she didn't let it fall. Okay. So, rescue-wise, the Rangers will come looking for me today, probably by 10. They'll drive the fire road to the trailhead, see my truck off the shoulder, and they'll start a ground search from there. Your SUV is still smoking. Even in the snow, they'll see it. They'll see my tracks. They'll follow 'em up here. What time is it now? He looked at his watch. 6:40. So 3.5 hours, give or take. Okay? Celine. Yeah. When they get here, they're going to ask you a lot of questions. They're going to want to check you out in the ambulance. There's going to be a whole circus for about 2 hours. I just want you ready for it. I run a company, Jackson. I can handle a circus. I know you can. I just mean if at any point you need me to step in and tell somebody to back off, you say the word. She looked at him. That's a very husbandy thing to say. Is it? Little bit. Sorry. Don't apologize. I said it, I didn't say I didn't like it. He turned back to the fire to hide his face for a second. I'll make tea, he said. Make tea. He got up and busied himself with the kettle, and while he was pouring hot water over the last of the Earl Grey, he heard her voice again behind him, softer. Jackson. Yeah. I haven't told you my last name. No, ma'am. Why not? Didn't need to know. You know now. Hartwell. Celine Elizabeth Hartwell. 42. CEO of Hartwell Mobility Systems. Based in Denver. Single. Grandchild of Henry Hartwell. Pleased to meet you. Jackson Andrew Milner. 46. Retired firefighter. Wildlife photographer when I can sell one. Single. Father of Hannah. Pleased to meet you too. Firefighter and photographer. Firefighter first. Photographer's a hobby that sometimes pays for groceries. Any good? I sold a picture to National Geographic once. What of? A bear. A bear. Yeah. Doing what? Scratching its back on a tree. That's it. Light was good. She laughed, and for the first time it didn't cost her much. My grandfather would have liked you. Yeah. He would have absolutely liked you. He didn't like anybody. But he would have liked you. High praise. Higher than you know. He brought the tea over, held it to her lips, and she drank. She was steadier now. Her hand wasn't shaking. The color in her face was something a human being would have. When she'd had enough, he set the mug on the table by the knife, which was still there untouched. You want me to move that? He said, nodding at the knife. No. Okay. I want it to stay there. All right. Not because of you. Because of me. I know. She was quiet a moment. Jackson, can I ask you something? Yes. Last night, when I asked you if I could slip under your blanket. Yeah. What did you hear? He thought about it carefully. I heard a woman who was trying to trust me and didn't know how. Yeah. Was I right? Yes. Okay. And also? Yeah. I heard myself ask too. That was the part that scared me. I know. You did. Yeah, I did. How? Celine, I was a fireman for 9 years. I have been on call for a lot of scared people. You learn what they sound like. She nodded slowly. Jackson. I'm scared now too. Different kind of scared. I know. Do you? Yeah. What am I scared of right now then, Mr. Fireman? He looked at her for a long moment. You're scared that when they put you in that ambulance in 3 hours, this all stops. Her eyes filled. She didn't blink. Yeah. Me too. You're scared of that too. Yeah. That's a relief. Yeah. Jackson. I don't do this. I don't start things with people. I haven't started anything with anybody in 11 years. I know. I don't either. I told you. 4 years since Beth and 8 since Maria. So what are we doing? Talking. That's a dodge. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. Try again. He rubbed his face with both hands. Celine, I don't know what we're doing. I know I don't want to stop. I know that when they show up here in 3 hours, I don't want to give you a card and a handshake and watch them drive you off a mountain I just carried you up. I know that much. Okay. I know I'm scared of that too. Of what? Of wanting anything again. Of starting a thing and finding out I'm not ready. of being Beth's Diner all over again, except this time with a woman who has been disappointed by so many men that one more would be a betrayal of something bigger than me. I won't be that for you. Jackson, I mean it, Celine. You tell me you've had 3 proposals. 2 of them wanted to rescue you, and 1 of them wanted a piece of your company. I'm a widower with an 11-year-old daughter, and a mortgage, and a camera, and I live in a town with 1 stoplight. I can't even begin to. I don't know what I am in your life. You're the man who carried me out of a wreck. That's today. Is it not allowed to matter? Of course it's allowed. But I don't want you waking up in a hospital bed 3 days from now and realizing that a man with a beat-up truck and a dead wife is not the story you were writing for yourself. She was quiet for a long moment. He could not read her face. Then, Jackson Andrew Milner. Ma'am? Look at me. He looked. I have not been written into anybody's story in a long time. Not by anyone else, and not by myself. I have been the CEO. I have been the wheelchair. I have been the woman on the magazine. I have not been the woman in the story. So I would appreciate it very much if you would stop trying to decide for me what kind of man is or isn't allowed to be in my life. That is my decision, not yours. He didn't answer for a second. Then, yes, ma'am. Good. I deserved that. You did. Celine. What? I like you a lot. I like you a lot too, Jackson. That's as much as I know how to say right now. That's plenty. Okay. They sat in silence for a bit. The fire popped. Outside, the world was getting lighter by the minute, and they could hear the very first birds, just a couple of crows somewhere up the ridge, voices, carrying in that clear way voices do across snow. Jackson? Tell me about your daughter again. I told you about her. Tell me more. Why? Because if you're going to be in my life in any way, she's going to be in my life in some way. Either I'm going to meet her, or I'm not going to meet her. I want to know which one I'm signing up for. He looked at her a long time. You want to meet her? Yes. Celine. I do. That's not a small thing I'm saying, Jackson. I know. I've thought about it. 12 hours ago, I didn't know you existed, and now I'm telling you before the rescue even gets here that I want to meet your daughter. You don't have to decide that right now. I'm not deciding. I'm asking. Okay. So tell me. He took a breath. Her name's Hannah. I told you that. 11, 7th grade. Smart, like I said. Funny in a way I didn't see coming. She has her mother's timing, which is unnerving because she never heard her mother tell a joke. She loves horses. She wants to be a large animal vet. She's got a rabbit named Todd who lives in the mudroom and hates me personally. She's going through a thing right now where she's decided she doesn't want to be a kid anymore. 11 is rough. She pushes back. She rolls her eyes. She tells me I don't understand. And then twice a week she comes into the living room at 9 at night with her stuffed horse and climbs into my lap like she's 5 again, and we sit there till she falls asleep. Jackson? What? You light up when you talk about her. Do I? Your whole face. Well, she's the whole point. I know. Celine, there's something you should know about Hannah. What? She knows about her mother. She's seen pictures her whole life. Grandma tells her stories. I tell her stories. She's got a whole mother in her head even without memories. And she is very protective of that. I'd expect her to be. The only time I tried to date Beth the schoolteacher Hannah was 7. She didn't meet Beth. I never got that far, but she could tell something was up. I was on the phone one night real late and I thought Hannah was asleep. She wasn't. She was on the stairs. And after I hung up, she came down in her nightgown and she said, "Daddy, are you going to replace Mama?" And I said, "No, baby. Nobody replaces Mama." And she said, "Okay, then you can have a friend." And she went back to bed. Jackson. Yeah. That kid. Yeah. Well, I would not be trying to replace her mother. I know. I would be Jackson. I don't even know what I would be. I don't know what this is. I just know I don't want to get in that ambulance and never see you again. I don't want that either. So, we don't have to figure it out in the next. He checked his watch. 2 hours and 40 minutes. Right, that. No, we don't. She closed her eyes. He watched her breathe for a minute. She was tired. Real honest tired. The kind of tired that follows the kind of night they'd just had. Jackson. Yeah. I need to say one more thing and then I might sleep for a minute. Say it. Thank you. You already thanked me. Not for this part. Not for the carrying, the tea, the knife on the table. I thanked you for all that already. This is for something different. What? You made me feel human last night. Not brave, not strong, not an inspiration, not a CEO, just a person who was cold and scared and needed another person. I forgot I was allowed to be that. Celine. That was... I just needed you to know that before the rescue shows up, and I have to put the face back on. You don't have to put the face back on. Yes, I do. With them, maybe, not with me. Not with you. Good. She reached up with her good hand and touched his face very lightly for about 2 seconds. Just the back of her knuckles against his cheek. Then she let her hand fall back onto the blanket. You haven't shaved, she said. No, ma'am. Been a rough night. I wasn't complaining. Noted. Jackson. Yeah. I'm going to close my eyes for a little bit. Go ahead. Will you stay where I can see you when I open them? I'm not going anywhere, Celine. I already told you that. Tell me again. I'm not going anywhere. Okay. Her eyes closed. Her breathing slowed. In under a minute, she was asleep again. Light sleep this time, the kind a person takes when they know they're safe. Jackson sat in the chair next to the bunk and watched her. He watched her for a long time. He watched her, and he thought about everything they had said, and everything they had not said, and he thought about Hannah, and he thought about Maria, and he thought about Henry Hartwell, who had built this cabin with hands that had also rocked this sleeping woman when she was a small girl. After a while, he got up and went to the window. Full daylight now. The world outside was blinding white, undisturbed except for his own fading tracks from the night before and a single line of rabbit prints across the yard. And then far off down the ridge so far, he wasn't sure at first, the distinct sound of an engine. Low. Big. Moving slow through snow. Rescue was coming up the road. He looked back at Celine, asleep on the bunk, one hand resting on top of the blanket where he had been holding it 10 minutes ago. Here we go, kid, he said quietly. To himself. To Hannah, waiting at her grandmother's. To Maria, wherever she was. To Henry Hartwell, who had a lot to answer for. He put his boots on. The engine got closer. He could hear it downshift as it hit the grade. Jackson laced his boots and pulled his flannel back on and crossed to the bunk one more time. Celine, she stirred. Hey, they're coming up the road. Her eyes opened, clear, present. Okay. You want the face on or the face off? Face on for them, off for you. Deal. Jackson. Yeah. Before they come through that door, give me your phone number. I don't have my phone on me, left it in the truck. Then give it to me out loud and I will remember it. He told her, slow, twice. She mouthed it, committing it. Got it. You sure? I close deals for a living, Jackson. I know how to remember a number. Fair. A heavier sound now outside. 2 vehicles sounded like. Voices carrying up through the pines, faint echoing. They're here. Go out to meet them. Don't make them kick this door in. My grandfather would be offended. He almost laughed. Yes, ma'am. He went to the door, cracked. It stepped out onto the little porch. The cold hit him like an open hand. But it was a clean cold now. No wind, no storm, just the sharp, bright cold of a morning after. Two snowcats were grinding their way up the last of the ridge road. A green and white one, with the Forest Service seal on the door, and behind it, a county ambulance rigged for mountain work. He waved both arms once high and slow. The lead driver flashed his lights. "Milner," somebody shouted from the passenger side of the first cat. "That you? It's me, Pete. You alive?" "I'm alive. Got another one in here. Alive." "How alive?" "Alive enough to argue with me for 2 hours." A laugh carried up from the cat. "Copy that." It took them another 10 minutes to get up to the cabin. In that 10 minutes, Jackson went back inside, knelt down beside the bunk, and Celine's good hand came up and caught him by the collar of his flannel. "Jackson, I'm right here. Ride with me." "To the hospital?" "Yes." "Okay." "Say it." "I'll ride with you. I'll ride with you the whole way." "Okay." She let go of his collar. When Pete Halverson Forest Service came in through the door with his medical kit, Celine Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Mobility Systems, was sitting up against the cabin wall with the blankets around her shoulders, her chin up, her eyes steady. The face was on. "Ma'am," Pete said. "I'm Ranger Halverson. Can you tell me your name?" "Celine Hartwell." "Celine, can you tell me what day it is?" "Saturday. Early morning. Probably the 19th. "Good. That's real good. Any loss of consciousness that you're aware of?" "No." "Any memory gaps?" "None." "Ma'am, you are in remarkable shape for a woman who went off the road into a pine tree in an 11-inch-a-night storm." "I had help." Pete looked over at Jackson. Jackson looked at the floor. "I figured," Pete said. The two paramedics came in behind him with a litter and a thermal wrap, and the next 40 minutes were the circus Jackson had warned her about. Vitals. Questions. The whole story told twice in a row. First by him, then confirmed by her, while a woman named Darla stuck a thermometer under her tongue, and a man named Carlos asked her to squeeze his fingers and wiggle what she could wiggle. When Carlos found out she couldn't move her legs not from the accident, just as a baseline, he didn't flinch, didn't look sorry, just nodded and wrote it down and moved on. Jackson saw Celine notice that. Saw her shoulders come down a 1/4 inch. "Ma'am," Carlos said, "I'm going to have my partner help me move you onto this litter. We'll keep your ribs stabilized. It's going to hurt. You ready?" "No." "Honest, I like it. Here we go." They moved her. She gritted her teeth and didn't make a sound. Jackson stood back and watched and kept his hands to himself because these were their hands, now not his, and he knew enough to know when to step out of the way. "Mr. Milner," Pete said, "you coming down with us, or you want us to send somebody up for you later?" "I'm coming down with you." "Your truck. Dig it out tomorrow. I'm not leaving her side." Pete raised an eyebrow. Didn't say anything. Jackson saw the eyebrow didn't care. On the way out, Jackson stopped at the door, turned back, looked at the cabin one more time, the stove still going. The chair he'd pulled up next to the bunk, the tin mug on the table, the pocket knife on the table next to it. He crossed the room, picked up the knife, clipped it back onto his belt, left the mug where it was. He had a feeling it belonged here now. "Goodbye, Henry," he said very quietly to nobody. "Thanks." Then he followed them out. The ride down the ridge in the ambulance cat took almost an hour on the snow. Celine was strapped to the litter IV and her good arm oxygen cannula under her nose, a foil blanket tucked up to her chin. Jackson sat on the bench across from her with his elbows on his knees and his eyes on her face. "You're staring." "I know." "You want to know what I'm thinking?" "If you want to tell me." "I'm thinking I'm glad I crashed my car." "Celine." "I know how that sounds." "It sounds concerning." "I said what I said." "You are loopy." "I am not loopy. I am medicated, and I am telling the truth." "Okay. Jackson, listen to me. For 23 years I have been operating on the theory that if I kept everything locked down tight enough, nobody could hurt me. And it worked. It really worked. Nobody hurt me. Nobody got near me. And I sat in my apartment last Tuesday night eating takeout by myself, and I looked around and I realized I had become a woman who had a $2 million view out her window and no one to call. Celine. I was going up to that cabin to figure out how to keep living that way, Jackson. That is the truth. Not to hurt myself, to resign myself, to make my peace with being alone for the rest of my life. That was the project I drove up the mountain for. And my car is at the bottom of a hill on fire, and I am lying on a stretcher holding the hand of a man I didn't know yesterday, and the project is canceled. Jackson let out a long breath. Celine Hartwell. What? You have a way of putting things. I had a good English teacher in high school. I'm gonna need to meet her. She's dead. Everybody's dead, Jackson. Keep up. He laughed, and she laughed, and the paramedic Darla glanced up from her tablet and smiled and went back to what she was doing. They got to the hospital a little after 10. Regional Medical Center, 40 beds, helipad on the roof. Hannah's grandmother had been called. Jackson knew because his phone, which Pete had grabbed from the truck, lit up the second they got out of the mountains and into cell range. 11 missed calls from Dolores. 3 voicemails. 2 texts, the second of which just said, "Call me Jackson Andrew." He called her from the ambulance bay while they wheeled Celine in. "I'm alive, Dolores." "You son of a—" "I know. Hannah has been up since 4. I'm sorry. She is watching the window." "Dolores, listen. I'm at Pine County Regional. I'm fine. There was a woman. Car accident. I got her to the ranger cabin. She's gonna be okay." Silence. Then more gently, "Jackson." "Yeah." "A woman." "Yeah." "Is she all right?" "Yeah. Broken ribs, concussion. Hypothermia was the worst of it, but she came back." "And you stayed with her all night?" "Yes, ma'am." A long pause on the other end. Dolores Santos had known Jackson Milner for 16 years, longer than he had known her daughter. "Okay, mijo." "That's it. Okay. What do you want me to say?" "I don't know. I have been telling you for 6 years to start living again." "I know. So start." "Dolores. Put Hannah on. She's there. She just came in the room. She heard me say your name. Hold on." A scuffle. A small voice. "Daddy?" "Hey, baby." "Daddy, are you okay?" "I am so okay. I'm sorry I made you worry." Grandma was mad. I know she was. But she's not mad anymore. No, she's smiling. She's turned around now so I can't see, but I saw her face. "Hannah." "Yeah. I need to tell you something. You sitting down." I'm standing up. "Sit down." A pause, a little shuffle. "Okay." "I helped somebody last night, in the storm. A woman got in a car wreck and I had to carry her to the ranger cabin. The one we stayed in. The same one." "Is she okay?" "She's okay. She's in the hospital right now. She's gonna be fine. But Hannah, she wants to meet you." Silence. "Hannah." I'm thinking. "Okay." A long pause. Then, in a voice much older than 11, "Is she nice?" "Yeah, baby. She's really nice." "Does she make you smile?" Yeah, she does." "Okay. Okay. Okay. I'll meet her. But Daddy." "Yes. She has to meet Todd, too. The rabbit. If Todd likes her, she's okay. That's the test. That's the test. All right, baby. Love you, Daddy. Love you, Hannah." He hung up, stood in the ambulance bay for a second with his eyes closed and the phone in his hand and the morning sun finally coming over the roofline of the hospital warm on his face. Then he went in. They had Celine in Bay 4, curtain drawn, a doctor with her, and a nurse setting up monitors. Jackson didn't push in. He stood at the edge of the curtain and waited. "Mr. Milner." The nurse poked her head out. "Yes, ma'am." "She's asking for you. Is she okay?" "She's stable. 2 broken ribs, 1 hairline, mild concussion. The hypothermia's resolving. She's asking for you." "Can I—" "Come on." He came around the curtain. Celine was sitting up on the gurney in a hospital gown. IV in her arm, her hair a disaster, a butterfly bandage over the cut on her forehead, and a bruise coming up purple across her cheekbone. She looked exhausted, and she looked beautiful. The doctor, a small black woman in her 60s, turned to him. "You the one who got her out?" "Yes, ma'am." "And got her up to the ranger cabin?" "Yes, ma'am." "And kept her warm all night?" "Yes, ma'am." The doctor looked him up and down, then looked at Celine, then looked back at him. "Mr. Milner, in my professional opinion, had you not done exactly what you did exactly when you did it, this woman would not be in my emergency room right now." "Yes, ma'am." "That's all I wanted to say." She turned to the nurse. "Let's get her upstairs for observation." To Celine. "Honey, you are going to be just fine. You had a miracle happen to you last night. I hope you know it." "I know it," Celine said quietly. The doctor nodded and left. The nurse followed her, pulling the curtain halfway. Jackson stepped closer to the gurney. "Hi," he said. "Hi. You look terrible. You are a romantic." "Yeah, well." "Jackson." "Yeah. I heard you on the phone." "Oh. The walls are thin. I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. I'm glad I heard. She sounds wonderful." "She is." "What's the rabbit test?" "Todd has to like you." "Does Todd like anyone?" "No." "Well, bar's low is what I'm saying." Jackson. "Yeah. I'll pass the test." "I believe you will." She was quiet a moment. Her good hand reached out. He took it. Jackson. What happens now?" "Now you go upstairs. They observe you for 24 hours. I go home, shower, hug my kid, come back. We start from there." "That easy." "That easy." "It's not, though." "No, it's not. But we start from there." "Okay." They moved her upstairs 20 minutes later. Jackson rode in the elevator with her, held her hand the whole way. When they got to the room, her assistant had already shown up somehow, a harried young woman named Priya, who had driven 2 hours in questionable weather and came in the door half crying, half furious. "Celine, I am going to kill you." "Priya, do you know how many people are going to kill you?" "Priya, the board is going to kill you. Your lawyer is going to kill you. Your mother." She stopped because Celine's mother was gone and she knew it. Celine just looked at her calm. "Priya, meet Jackson." Priya turned, took Jackson in. Flannel jeans boots with dried blood on them, 4 days of beard hair pressed flat on one side from sleeping against a cabin wall. "Hi," Priya said cautiously. "Ma'am, Jackson saved my life, Priya. Pulled me out of the car, carried me to a cabin, kept me warm all night." Priya's eyes got wide. "Oh. So you are not going to kill me, and you are not going to yell at me, and you are going to shake this man's hand, and you are going to call the board and tell them I will be taking the next 2 weeks off." "2 weeks, Priya." "Yes, ma'am." "Thank you." Priya crossed to Jackson, shook his hand. Her grip was firm. "Mr. Milner, I don't know you, but thank you." "Ma'am, you have any idea what you just did?" "I have some idea." "No, you don't. This woman is—" Priya stopped, glanced at Celine, corrected course. "Thank you." "You're welcome." Celine smiled very faintly. Jackson stayed until noon. When he left to drive home and see Hannah, Celine was asleep, clean, bandaged, safe, with Priya guarding the door like a Doberman. He kissed the back of her hand before he left. She stirred, smiled without opening her eyes, and settled back into sleep. He drove the 40 miles home in his borrowed Ranger truck, and the whole way he kept looking over at the empty passenger seat like he was surprised she wasn't in it. Hannah came off the porch running before he had the door open. He caught her and held her and didn't let go for a long time. "Daddy?" "I know." "Daddy, you smell like smoke." "I know." "Daddy, is the lady okay?" "She's okay." "Can I meet her?" "You can meet her. But not today. She has to rest." Tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Daddy? Yeah. I'm glad you're home. Me too, baby. Me too. 2 days later, Hannah met Celine in a hospital room with flowers in a vase Priya had run out to buy. Hannah brought Todd in a carrier over her grandmother's strenuous objections. Celine, sitting up in bed with her hair washed and her face still bruised, took one look at the little girl standing in the doorway and said, "Hannah, I've been wanting to meet you." Hannah studied her. "Did you really crash into a tree?" "I really did." "Was it a big tree?" "Very big." "Were you scared?" "Yes." "Was my dad scared?" "I think so, but he didn't show it." "He never shows it." "No." "That's a problem sometimes." Celine's eyes shone. "I think you're right about that." Hannah nodded once, solemn. Opened the rabbit carrier. Todd, who hated Jackson personally, who hated most humans, who hated the world, hopped out, took one long look at Celine, hopped across the blanket and settled against her good hand. Hannah's eyes went huge. "Daddy, I see it. Daddy, baby, I'm looking at it. Todd likes her. I see." Hannah turned back to Celine. Her face was very serious. "You passed." "I know. You can come to dinner." "Thank you." Jackson stood in the doorway and watched his 11-year-old daughter and the woman he had carried a mile and a half through a blizzard, and he felt the specific and peculiar weight in his chest, the one that had shifted in the cabin, settle one more inch. That was spring of that year. By summer, Celine was driving up to the mountain town with one stoplight every other weekend. By fall, Hannah was calling her for advice about a school project about inventors, and Celine was walking her through her grandfather Henry Hartwell's whole life over the phone. By Christmas, Jackson had taken his wedding ring off, wrapped it in a silk scarf that had been Maria's, and put the whole thing in a cedar box on the closet shelf. He hadn't thrown it away. He just didn't need to wear it every day anymore. 2 years after the storm, almost to the day, Jackson Milner and Celine Hartwell stood on the porch of the ranger cabin Henry Hartwell had built in 1962, and Jackson, who had been scared of wanting anything again for 8 years, asked her a question he had been holding in his chest since the morning the snowcats came up the ridge. Hannah was the witness. Todd in his carrier was another. Celine, from her wheelchair on that porch her grandfather had ramped for her 30 years before, said yes. They were married in that cabin the following June. 22 people. Priya officiated. Dolores Santos walked her son-in-law down the aisle because Jackson's own mother had been gone for 15 years, and Dolores had decided she was going to do the job. Hannah was the maid of honor. She wore her hair in a braid and chewed the end of it while she waited at the altar just like her mother used to, and Jackson had to look up at the ceiling for a minute before he could say his vows. At the reception on the porch, somebody asked Celine how it all started, and she smiled and looked at Jackson and said, "Can I slip under your blanket?" That was it. That was the line that made the whole thing real. A question asked in a cold cabin by a woman who had forgotten she was allowed to ask for warmth, answered by a man who had forgotten he was allowed to give it. Some people go their whole lives waiting to be seen. Some people go their whole lives afraid to be found. Jackson Milner and Celine Hartwell almost did. And then one February night in a blizzard that nearly killed them both on a ridge that a man named Henry Hartwell had loved his whole life, they stopped waiting. They stopped hiding. They let each other in. And that, in the end, was the whole thing. That was the whole story. A storm. A wreck. A cabin. A question. An answer. And two people who found out at 42 and 46 with broken ribs and broken hearts, and nothing between them but a blanket and the truth that it is never too late to be saved, and it is never too late to save somebody else. It is never too late.